Hello, I'm Philip Stoughton. I'm at Apex 2025. I'm on the last day, and I'm joined by Rich from IPC. Rich, thanks for joining me. It's the first time we've spoken, both on camera and off. Obviously, we're in a state of turmoil. A lot of the EMS leadership that I've been speaking to here are concerned about tariffs, not just because they want a specific outcome, but because they want stability. Businesses crave stability.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about the work you're doing in Washington. Tell me about the insight you have there and how that helps the leaders in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned, it's been a crazy couple of weeks since the beginning of the year, and the new president has made it clear that trade policy is something he cares greatly about and is going to try to affect his new vision for the United States economy using those tools. So we've seen tariffs on individual countries, materials like aluminum, steel, and copper, and then this idea of a reciprocal or retaliatory trade regime that may come into effect as soon as first week of April.
Yeah.
So we've been submitting formal comments to the administration, letting them know how this impacts a manufacturing industry like electronics. And to your point, stability is needed to be able to plan investments, and that the global supply chain that's been formed over the last 20 to 30 years is not something you can reset overnight, and the disruption that occurs will really, in the end, hamper domestic manufacturing. So as we may have a shared goal in trying to build U.S. electronics manufacturing. We've urged the administration to think carefully about what actions they take that could unintentionally undermine that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's clear that their goal is to have a manufacturing renaissance here in the USA, and I think that's a good goal that everybody, particularly everybody manufacturing here, appreciates, and actually the global manufacturers appreciate. I think one of the biggest challenges is the relationship with near neighbors, thinking about where we are with respect to Mexico, where we are with respect to Canada. One of the websites I follow gives these great stats, and it's based entirely on the Silverado pickup truck. So every time there's a new tariff, they adjust the price. They've got a whole supply chain model, and they price it because apparently there's like 15 border crossings between the US, Mexico, and Canada to make one vehicle. It went up like $7,000. Then there was a change, and it went down $8,000. So it's been really interesting to see those statistics. But more importantly, we're creating a bit of a hiatus in terms of investment because of that lack of clarity. Do you think April is when we're going to get a bit more clarity, or do you still see the waves rolling for a while?
Yeah, I think the dust will settle sometime later this year. So there's obviously a lot of energy for the administration to come out strong and fast and implement the change that they promised to the American people. And I think when we see the impacts of that, there may be more opportunity later in the year to advocate for some changes to those policies. So we're taking every opportunity now to make sure we represent the needs of the industry in formal comments and meetings, closed door meetings. Right now we've been working with a working group on the copper tariffs. So copper is obviously something that's in every piece of electronics, and we want to make sure the administration knows just how important that is. And that if you start raising the price of the costs on a major input like that, how big of an impact that could have. But I do think April will still see some churn, and then probably later in the year there might be more of an opportunity to affect change in that policy.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's clear trade is being used to further other agendas, so there's an impact there. I'm curious with the whole Doge thing and government cuts. is there areas of cut there that you're concerned will have an impact on the electronics industry, or is it really very much government department?
It's hard to say at this point. I think, anytime you have a change in administration, you're going to have a change in personnel.
Yeah, of course.
And so we were already working to identify who those folks are that we need to be working with in the Department of Commerce and in the White House, at Department of Labor. And so certainly the DOGE and the cutting amplifies that change between administrations, but as far as an advocacy goes, we're in the same position that we would be in any administration change, which is establishing those new relationships and
letting them know what's important.
We were excited to see Secretary of Commerce Lutnick voice support for domestic manufacturing in his confirmation hearings. Now, what that translates to in policy, we'll wait to see. But our position has always been, we were supportive of chips. We view it as critically as a first step. It fell short in a lot of areas with relation to electronics, so we'll be sure to bring that message to Secretary Lutnick as well.
Getting that message across. I think what's interesting, and you talked about copper, you talk about chips. One of the challenges the manufacturing industry that's here, which is predominantly the EMS and OEM sector, is looking at their bill of materials and figuring out where all the impact is. It's pretty complicated, and that there are things that are subject to the tariffs. There are things that are separate from it. There are things that were in the USMCA. There are things that are not. It becomes a pretty complex picture, and when that picture is changing regularly, it's a real challenge.
It is. So we have a survey open right now. All the participants at Apex got it in the app to complete the survey, both on tariff impacts, but also on the tax policy changes that are happening this year. So in 2017, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act passed in the first Trump administration that lowered corporate tax rates and allowed for investment deductions for purchasing capital equipment, and that is currently all being negotiated this year again. And so it's important for industry to tell us what is important,
what's important to them,
what's going to impact their business, so that we can take that factual data to Capitol Hill and to the administration.
Fill out the survey. It's important. We need to get that done. Last comment, more than a question. You've done a great job within IPC of not just doing this advocacy in Washington, but actually repeating it elsewhere. How important is it for you to be able to reach out to Alison in Europe or people elsewhere in India or wherever else and say, hey, what's going on from your side? What does it look like from there? Because, it is all about those relationships.
Yeah, I would just echo what our CEO, John Mitchell, said in his keynote yesterday, that it's a global industry, and we have to be building bridges. So our Vice President of Global Government Affairs, Chris Mitchell, impresses that across the entire government relations team. So we do work hand in hand with Europe and Asia to make sure we're identifying solutions that help the global industry, but also, my focus is North America, building a stronger North American ecosystem. And our companies are global. So when I hear from some large EMS companies, they may be calling and asking about an issue with moving manufacturing from one region to another, and how can we work together? So there might be engagement with the Department of State, and then coordinating with India or Europe.
I think it's really important that you do that, and I think when you look at the last 5 to 10 years of IPC, it's made incredible strides in becoming that global organization. So very, very valuable. Rich, pleasure to chat to you. First of many interviews, I hope, and
thank you. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.